Welcome to SciTech Culture with Steve Kern and Ben Warner, where we examine science, technology and culture in the 21st century. Visit our website at scitechculture.com.
Alright, so we've got a bit to go through today. I'm excited. There's always something to talk about, a little bit of touching on some things that we've already spoken about just recently, and also looking at some other new things too. But to crack it off, Steve, the Apple announcements that happened in the last week, I actually was quite encouraged. I don't know if I really cared that much about the AI announcements they made, but what I thought was interesting was that they didn't do the sequential, this is what's happening with macOS, this is what's happening with iOS, etc. They just did a blanket, we're doing three things, high level top three things across all of them. And the one that obviously got the attention, which I think will actually matter to people, maybe some people will care about their Siri AI, I don't know, maybe they will, but the thing that I think people will care about, which I'm keen to see, is the performance improvements. So for anyone that's been on the Apple bandwagon for long enough, they'll remember the Snow Leopard update that came out in 2006, 20 years ago. I wonder if that's, I don't know, maybe it's like an anniversary or something like that.
It is for us, Ben. We remember it.
And if anyone remembers that, and I remember that OS release quite fondly because it worked so well after you installed it, and it was billed at the time as being the performance update. Let's not put any new features in or minimal new features. Let's just concentrate on making the thing run better. So,
and it was the last that you loaded off a DVD as well.
Oh yes, that's right. Oh wow, it's been such a long time.
After that, we moved to the App Store.
Absolutely, yep, that's right. And I'm kind of keen because to see how this plays out, not just for the Macs, but the fact that this is actually going to apply to all the devices from the sound of it. So I don't know, you keen to update quickly this year, if that's the case?
Oh, if at all. I don't know. All my updates are turned off automatic, so it's when I get around to it. It doesn't bother me that much, but any performance improvement is a good thing. One thing I am interested in, though, is this approach to just generically explaining the three performance enhancements. Do you think we're heading towards that singularity of OS for Apple?
No, I don't think so. I think they like to keep everything separate. They've made big statements about that in the past, about not bringing it together. And I think that works against their hardware strategy, to be quite frank. Otherwise, what would be the point of buying every version of everything they have if you're only going to buy one of them?
Oh, good work, Ben. You must be in touch with the Apple sales team there.
Just the cynical read.
Look, I think the performance improvements are always welcomed. Interesting, I think that the protection or child protection aspects, I think, as you pointed out before, is it's to align Apple with EU regulations that will come in, but they're also based on the Australian regulations around social platforms. So very interesting to see them doing that. I actually think Apple is probably the only OS that could consistently provide that sort of protection. So I'm sure for some parents that will be a big thing, and you probably will actually be able to shut out the social platforms. As for Siri AI, isn't it good to see Google Gemini with a purpose?
Utilised to its nth degree. And just one final point, it was Tim Cook's final keynote, and it wasn't like he did actually. It was kind of an interesting sign off because he finished the keynote, and it was clear that he was saying, I've had a wonderful time at Apple. It was rewarding, etc. But he didn't actually word it in any way to say I'm leaving. Which I thought was interesting. The tone was, this is my last keynote, but he didn't say it was my last keynote, I'm going to be handing over. He didn't say any of that. It was just more like you could tell it was a final farewell without it being a farewell explicitly. I just thought that was interesting. Like, if you didn't know any better, you would go, what is he leaving? Like that was kind of the feeling you'd get at the end of it.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because we know that whatever he said wouldn't have been by accident. It would have been carefully studied, debated, and then produced. So who knows?
Well, shot on iPhone and edited on Mac, as it said at the end. Okay, so just moving on from that, just wanted to touch again on the SpaceX IPO. We talked about that last week. I don't want to spend too much time on it other than to say, he's now a trillionaire. Good luck to him, and all of the concerns I think are still there, and we'll just have to see where that goes, because I don't know. It's not the IPOs of the past, and you just wonder where that goes, other than benefiting him in this instance.
Well, of course, he is the first beneficiary. Who knows? Until some aliens show up and take out some X subscriptions, I'm not sure where this additional income for his business is coming from. But if he did get into the IPO, and we know it was oversubscribed in Australia and probably right around the world, if you did get in, good luck to all holders. I hope you get a return on investment.
Absolutely. All right, let's just move on from that. I want to combine two things now. I don't think we've talked about UAPs recently, at least in terms of the phenomenon as it's been portrayed on TV. I know it's a few years old now, and there's always this threat of release of new material and whatnot. Unidentified aerial phenomena, I believe it's called. Unidentified flying object doesn't pass the
Not anymore. We've renamed everything, Ben. We're in the modern age. Can't go with 20th century terminology.
So I found it, we're also going to bring in the discussion of Disclosure Day. I happened to go see it last night, and it's related because the film is heavily influenced by that topic. But what interests me about this is that this type of story, if it landed, say, in the 90s, would have gone off, in the X-Files period, where this type of conspiracy theory type thinking, in that manner was prevalent. I don't know if it quite has that kind of vibe anymore in terms of, whether you take it seriously or whatnot, because it sounded like it landed with I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, that it landed with a bit of a thud, because they, the armies publicly, or whoever they were, the Air Force publicly, was showing off everything that they've got. And you're like, yeah, okay. It's not telling me anything any more than what it did before. And I'm not entirely sure if it's actually like getting anyone interested anyway, unless it's from some obscure circles. In the public. So it's a bit of an odd duck for me. It seems like it's a cultural zeitgeist thing that was from 20 years ago.
20 years ago, yeah, and probably 50 years before that. Because let's face it, flying saucers really started in the 40s, Second World War, and then probably right through, like you say, to the 90s. Just a couple of quick things on this and their personal observations. I think with the rise of social media, you either don't believe at all in UAPs, or you 100% believe in UAPs because you've got all the evidence in your feed, and so you don't believe anything that they're trying to tell you anyway. And so to come out and actually be honest and not show anything because there's nothing to show isn't going to win any eyeballs. Like a picture of a green man with bulging eyeballs will get lots of views, but a picture of, Venus being distorted through the upper atmosphere won't get any views at all. The greater irony of this is that back in the day, back in that 20th century period, even right up to 1999, let's say, all we had were a few obscure photos of aliens or flying saucers or whatever they were that just happened to be snapped by someone lucky enough to have a camera at that point. And then there were endless debates about whether or not the film had been manipulated or not. Today, everyone's got a camera and no one's got any photos of any UAPs or any aliens. So
if anything, there's even less now than what there were before.
Exactly, and that's my point. So, you know, on the basis of evidence, they're either got more clever since we invented phone cameras and they're hiding from us, or they haven't been back for about 25 years, or they're just not there at all. And you can take your pick.
What's that whole Occam's razor type of approach to this? Yeah. I think I might go with your last explanation there.
Oh, I'm going to sit on the fence and wait for them to come.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, Spielberg would think that they're already here. He said it in interviews. Disclosure Day is all about this. I was excited, actually, just the fact that it's another Spielberg film that heightened back to his kind of glory days of the types of films that he used to make. So I was enthused about going in and having a look. Obviously, it's all on this topic. And it's a bit of an odd beast, this film. Like, if you're looking for that, 100% Spielberg executed, kind of film, it delivers in, he's right on form. Like, it's exactly what you would expect. It's not exactly the same story as Close Encounters, for instance, but you can see very obvious parallels in the storytelling between the two, even though it's more focused on the UAP element and, the government's got all this information and, the thing that was a bit odd about the film, though, I mentioned before about the whole cultural zeitgeist thing, that we've moved past it. I think this is what my brain finally settled on after thinking about it for a little bit afterwards, that's the issue with this film, that it's the zeitgeist moment where this would have really caught off was probably 20 or 30 years ago. So I think I texted you and said it was like an 80s Spielberg film. Yeah. That might have been the time that if it had come out then, it might have, made $1 billion and gone straight through the roof. Or in the 90s when the X-Files was on, because there's a bit of an element of that in there as well. But looking at it now, what I found odd was that it was trying to do two things that didn't quite go together. One was, what does it mean if evidence of aliens is disclosed to the public? What's the effect that this is going to have on humanity? But he combined that. Now, to me, if you were going to do that in today's world, it would have to be a lot more grounded, and you'd have to acknowledge the polarization that I think you were alluding to there with what's in everyone's feeds, and the fact that it's not going to be this moment where every single person is going to stop, look at their phones to watch the footage, and all be in this monocultural agreement that this has happened and it's now our lives have changed forever. No, you're going to get pockets of people. Everyone's going to start arguing. Some are not going to believe it. Some will fully believe it. Some are going to question it. Some are going to argue what it is. And kind of like the film Don't Look Up, instead of everyone coming together, everyone's going to retreat to their corner and probably do their thing anyway. Even though this would be the most amazing sort of announcement in history. So I'm thinking of this, but I'm watching the film, and basically what Spielberg's done is he's kind of gone back to his kind of childlike wonder approach, which I came across very naive. So when the information is disclosed as the climax at the end of the film, everyone kind of you get the feeling that everyone's now coming together because we're now in a new world. We've got, and it just fell apart, basically. I just couldn't get past the fact that wouldn't be the case if that was actually happening now.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because I do think that you're right. That is a very 80s or 90s sort of trope, that something could unite the world. The reality is, and when you were giving that explanation of how people might react, all I could think about was how people react to what Trump might say now about the Iran war. We don't know if it's true, not true, if a deal's close, not close. And we're dealing, and this may be a long bow to draw, but we're kind of dealing with a mysterious other party in this from the other side. where as a society we don't have a clear view of what the other side's intentions are, what their participation in this discussion is, which is really, I imagine, a lot in what's happening in disclosure. Is that question. We're waiting for somebody to tell us the truth, and we have to trust them. And so if you trust them, and I think trust in governments, I think it's been shown as well, was a lot higher 40 years ago than it is today. So you can, I think back then, if the government had come out and said, yeah, we're, Area 51, Roswell, whatever, it's all true, here's the evidence, we just thought you guys wouldn't be able to handle it, probably everyone would have gone, oh, okay, fair enough, oh wow, this is it, okay, well it must be true. I think today, and I once again, I wonder if this is a byproduct of social media and the fact that we're so triggered by our personal beliefs ahead of fact, and we see this in a whole range of arenas and issues that are important to society as a whole globally. I tend to agree with you. I think today all it would lead to a whole lot of different memes effectively within the socials, debating whatever that group happens to believe about either the intent of the disclosure, the validity of the evidence, and it would range from belief to disbelief and everywhere in between, but very little of the discourse would be related to fact.
And to underscore this point, the way the information is disclosed in the film is through a news broadcast that then gets picked up and circulated around the world, which is so very
old.
And look, Spielberg is a product of an earlier generation as well, and that's not to denigrate the execution of the film. Like I said at the outset, the man knows what he's doing when it comes to executing a film. I think it was just conceptually a little misguided. The only way you could read it and take it seriously is if you just saw it all as a fantasy, or maybe it's on a parallel Earth somewhere that didn't take the track that we did. If you looked at it like that and sort of you wouldn't see it like in the reductive way that it kind of comes across.
Do you think it's a script that he might have effectively penned around the Close Encounter time, and this is only now?
Well, he claims that he was always interested in it, but he didn't really get around to the focus of what the film became. I think he said it was around 10 years ago.
Yeah, so take 10 years off, and the fact that he probably quite genuinely would have thought about it for 20 years, probably as a follow-up to Close Encounters, then you're probably right. It is interesting. I think for those of us that are, probably older than 40, maybe if he'd said it in the 90s, we at least maybe would have connected with it more effectively. Do you think that?
Potentially. I mean, I felt like it was connecting to my 20-year-old self rather than what I am today, because of, you can't like go around in the world and not see what's going on and how people react to things. So yeah, it seemed it seemed like an interesting little bubble that he was trying to encapsulate there that maybe didn't reflect how it would be going. Having said that, I've seen a bit of the criticism around it sort of floating in that direction. There's obviously other things as well where they tend to pick things apart. There are a few other little odd bits in there that I won't go into now, otherwise I'll be here all day talking about it. But having said that, there are still a lot of things that are really good about it too, and if anything else, it gets you thinking about the topic, because maybe it's that sort of fun, that kind of existential, what does this mean for us as a species? That's very lofty, and gets you thinking, and maybe that's enough, given the lack of excitement in Hollywood and what they produce these days. This passes as intellectual conversation out of cinema. Who knows?
Well, he could be onto something there, because and I haven't seen the film, but you think about it, and maybe that film is just, it's too much based in an older school rationale, and maybe that is where the basis of genuine debate through public discourse sits, and maybe we've all jumped the shark.
Yes, indeed. Absolutely. All right, Steve, we might wrap it up there. Always good to talk about aliens and whatnot. We'll see if they actually show up. I'll get my camera out in the balcony. We'll keep an eye out on things, see if any UAPs fly past.
I was going to say, always good to talk about them. Not so sure I want to meet them. Some of them that I've seen from Hollywood are pretty scary.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. All right, so that's it for this week's episode. We'll catch you next time.